to continue to lead our team. And so, there's, I think in Layshia's case, there's a lot to be appreciative of in terms of in 2021. And then I think certainly as we move to the off season, Layshia's continued to have some understanding as we manage the group and try to get the team as talented as we can possibly get it to be. So Layshia is just somebody that has been a complete team player for us. And, we're appreciative of the qualities. We're going to talk a lot about leadership and the intangibles that Layshia brings. But Layshia had a darn good season basketball wise, career high in field goal percentage, and just was, for me, just a joy to coach and to X and O with. So having Layshia back was a priority for us, and we're happy we got that done.
Go ahead. I was trying to smile. Yeah, to echo the sentiments. I mean, it was kind of a no-brainer for me in free agency when, my agent reached out and was like, do you want to go back? I was like, yes, like 99.999%, unless something like insane. I can't even, imagine the scenario that would come up that would, have me leave. But, it's a crazy industry. So there's always that small part of you that, I've been burned before, and Cheryl and I have talked about that. So just kind of building trust with each other. But yeah, I wanted to be back because it's all about, fit in this league. It's about team culture. It's about the people who are around you. And I think Minnesota really has that for me. And you saw just the synergy that I had with the team and with this city and the fans, and obviously our coaching staff, and the ability to just be around some of the best to ever do it. I know Cheryl says I always stroke her ego, so I get paid a lot more money and all of that, but just to, be coached by one of the best, like she's the Olympic coach, you don't often get that opportunity in your lifetime. And so I'm always even asking her to like teach me more about being a GM at the same time. It's just really an honor to be here. And then I get to be here for Sylvia Fowles last season. I was praying to God. I already knew I wanted to come back, but it was like, please, Syl, just give me one more. I know we've been dragging you on and on. So it's just, an honor to be back. And I'm just really excited about what it can look like if I'm here at training camp in the beginning of the season and get to really build even more with the team.
We'll start with questions from Kent and then go to Jace. Kent, go ahead.
Hey, Layshia, welcome back. I was wondering if you could just kind of talk through your recovery process from the injury that kind of hampered you at the end of last year. And then really, when you look back to that, the way it ended, do you feel like you guys left something on the table because you were unable to be 100% once the playoffs came? And are you kind of excited to kind of redeem, get past that and do it this year?
Yeah, first, my recovery process is, I got really good news today. So I'm officially, I think I didn't even did you hear this, Cheryl? Cleared out of my boot and all that, and really progressing moving forward. So it's been an ongoing recovery after the season. It got pretty bad towards the end. So feeling good, feeling really healthy, progressing towards training camp. So that's a big, huge marker for us. And then, yes and no. Like, I played long enough to know that injuries are part of like the luck and the magic of every season working. So it was just like not our time. And we could do the coulds, woulds, should have, maybe this happened, but I know I've benefited from like, someone else getting hurt in another team. And then it was like my turn or my opportunity. So really not hampering back. I think just looking at like how good we were and how special we were when we battled injuries all season, and really building on like an opportunity to grow. And I think that's the kind of baseline I'm looking at, and just seeing where we could go from there. But the injury part is just bad luck. We fell on the wrong side of it, and I did.
We'll go Jace and then Jack. Jace, go ahead.
Hey, Layshia, you talked about it right at the end of your statement, but I guess I wanted to ask a little bit more, like how well you fit with this group, and how the chemistry that built, and it was just all on the fly. So how can you see that growing exponentially here as you do get a training camp, as you do get another full season, and all the planning that goes into a season where you are a part of the plan from the beginning and can work and get to know everybody a little bit more?
I think I'll turn the ball over a little less. So I'm going to blame it on not knowing my teammates. I think, you build trust, and that's something that takes so much time. And so I think it was remarkable to come in and do it that quickly. But now I've been in the trenches with my teammates. So I think there's more of an ability to even coach each other and have that connection that was hard to build right in the moment. So now it's like I can push a little more and say, hey, like, okay, Mac, I need this from you. And we have that trust and that foundation built because we've been through the trenches together. And then I think learning each other's games a little more too. Like I was learning on the fly. I played against a lot of these players, so I know enough to know, but it's different when you get on the inside and you learn their personalities. You learn like really where they like to be on the court and where they want the ball. And so I think that's another really huge kind of growth opportunity for me and fitting in with the team. It's just that basketball side, and then the kind of intangible feel, character, like personality stuff you also learn about your teammates. I think that's the twofold that'll really like grow this season for me, just building off of last year.
Okay, we'll go Jack and then Jackie. Jack, go ahead.
Hey, Layshia, good to see you. Welcome back. I know last year after the Sky loss, you addressed the team and just expressed your gratitude for your teammates and the experience that you had with the Lynx last year. Now that you've just had some time to reflect upon, everything that happened last season, what aspect of last season do you think you're most excited to build on, this upcoming year now that you've got a full season ahead of you?
The aspect I'm most excited to build on? Like, I want to be really fucking good at basketball. Like, that's the thing I want to grow on the most. I love these people and they're awesome. And I think I'm building some lasting relationships. But I think when I looked at this postseason with Cheryl, even like how good our team was in certain statistics, what things we could grow on, like as good of a defensive team we are that we have still coming back, I think I'm really looking forward to like, getting those stops and then actually scoring in transition out of them at a better rate. Those kind of things where like we're leaving those points on the table, and those kind of X's and O's things that I'm really excited to be a part of from the start and look at like how much we could grow, like how many points we left on the table, how many things, little tiny details that would have made us an even better team that we have a chance to like improve on. That's what like it really, really excites me about our roster.
And then Cheryl, for you, do you think that Layshia changed the collective spirit of the team, given, where the team was record-wise when she arrived, and then the huge run that you went on with Layshia in the fold?
Yeah, I think that sort of goes without saying. I think that was like the narrative pretty much upon Layshia's arrival. Layshia had no idea what they were getting into upon arrival because there was a training camp and then there was also a slow start to the season. And so I think we, when you say spirit, I don't necessarily know that our spirit was broken at that juncture. It was a little bit more, we were unsure of who we were identity-wise. I think it was more of that. And I thought what Layshia brought to the table immediately, and Layshia, again, we didn't bring Layshia and say, hey, this is what we're missing, this is what we need you to do. Layshia was just Layshia. And it just fit immediately. And because there was maybe a bit of a void in the intangible leadership way that Lay plays with. And so I think that came very naturally, and it gave everyone else confidence. And then you saw, you win a couple games, and then I think, you saw the momentum of it all as Layshia got more comfortable, and we didn't have to talk to her during the course of the action and where they should be, like actually knew the playbook. And then we also, if you remember, Lay, being down in Atlanta is always going to be, I always say there's points of the season that you remember of each season. Being down in Atlanta was sort of our, when you say bottom, it's not a dramatic kind of a bottom, but you recognize it was your bottom. Once you go back and look at it, it was your bottom. And it was during the course of that game, but I remember the shoot around very, very well. One, I don't think I helped our team in the beginning in terms of what we were running, as we were trying to sort of navigate the personnel that we had. And so what we were running probably wasn't great. And then we were in Atlanta and we said, look, we're going to live in this space right here. This is what you're going to do, Lay, on these, you got a choice of these 3 plays on this scenario. You got a choice of, and we just really honed in on, we just kind of chopped so much of maybe what we did in training camp. And we said, you know what, we're really good in this space. Let's just live right here. Let's build some confidence in doing that. And we actually got down in that game, close to 20, if not 20, and came back and had a great win. And I really felt like our identity was sort of born that game, our commitment to it.
Thank you both.
You're welcome.
We'll go Jackie and then Pierre. Jackie, go ahead.
Hello, Layshia. Good to see you. So I've got a bunch of questions for you. And so Cheryl has heard this question many times, but I need to ask Layshia, so bear with me.
Okay.
I'm curious to get your read, Layshia, on the urgency and maybe the hunger that this group has to win a championship this year amid the news of it being Sylvia's final season.
Ask that again. What's the hunger level?
The urgency, urgency and hunger level. I know they could be synonymous, but they are different too.
Ooh, good question. That's a good question. Ooh. I think it's high, but I don't think it's without knowing, at least from my perspective, what it takes to even put yourself in a position to possibly stay healthy. Hopefully the refs go your way when. And I think that's what, we focus on. I think there's an obvious, like, who does not want to win for Sylvia Fowles? And add Angel in there. Like, I played with Angel. I know her. She's one of the best to ever play the game. And like, she doesn't have a championship. Like, I want one. I haven't won one, but like that motivation for me even comes for those two, and wanting to do that for your teammates and wanting to send someone out. I don't know Angel's timeline, but especially Syl's, like, on a really good note. And I think there's enough experience though in the room to understand like what it takes to put yourself in a position to get to that point. So I would say I think the hunger is really high. The urgency, I don't feel that quite as much, because I know like every season is such a lifetime and it's such a journey that it really just takes like I did my workout today and I crushed it, and then I did my stretching. I'm like, whew, like I did enough. It really takes like that laser of a focus every day to put yourself in the position. And so that's more, I think it's my mindset where I'm coming from. I know Cheryl, we share some sentiments with that. So I think that's more the kind of vibe that we'll try to give the team.
For sure. I like that answer. I love that you gave a lot of thought to it, as you do with many or most questions. So I will also tell you, I'm a very dedicated listener of the Cheryl Reeves Show. It's a podcast that you were on. And so there was a show that you were on with AP in the restaurant or whatever. And you were asked by Jim about the New York coaching opening. And so your thoughts were, New York deserves to be a really well-run organization that should have a very high level people doing that job. So now that they have hired someone, I'm curious as to how you believe that person fills that role as a high level person, as you described.
Could I interrupt and say that I don't think this is the appropriate time. This is Layshia's press conference to return to the Lynx. And having an opinion about another franchise, I just don't think I want to put Layshia in that position, if that's okay.
That is fine. That is fine. That is fine. Angel, you brought that up regarding Angel. How much do you think it will help, the fact that the two of you have played together in Atlanta and the two of you were a really big part of the offense there?
I think it comes down to trust again. So that kind of knowing a player. I mean, Angel and I have gotten into it too, that you can, Cheryl was witness to some situations when we played the Minnesota Lynx. And Angel and I have butted heads in the past, actually, when I played there. And since then, we're really on a much better page, even before I knew she was coming to this team. Like, kind of one of those things, like, you play with that teammate, you're all in the league, you kind of learn and grow, and really connected in the bubble in 2020, and just seeing the ways we both have matured differently. And so I'm really excited to have Angel as a teammate again and see the ways, she's shifted and grown too. And the parts that the trust comes back to is having known her and played with her. And I think even having been through some conflict, which is how you build a lot of trust, right? The fact that you can go through things, butt heads, address it, and you can move forward. I think that's what like the richness really, really comes in, like the deeper relationships. It's not just from the, like, we all get along from day one, because you're probably not really truly showing up if you all just always get along, right? And that's what I'm super excited about her. We both got a little older since we played back in Atlanta, but Angel's still so good and was so efficient last year. And she gives our team a lot of depth that I'm really excited about, to just play with like that amount of talent. You just don't get that every year. Again, like I get to look over and be like, oh, there's Angel McCoughtry, like no big deal. Oh, there's Sylvia Fowles. No big deal. Like being just around, such talent just makes my job, like, it really is easy. I'm like, I hold the ball in my head and I pump fake and then I throw it in. All right, I give it to Angel. She does her thing, gets a bucket. It makes it really just fun and a joy to be around.
All right. All right, we'll go to, what did I say? I'm sorry. I think I said Pierre next and then Lucas. Pierre, go ahead.
Good afternoon to you both. Question actually is for Cheryl in regards to Rachel coming back. What do you want to see more from her going into this season that maybe you didn't see from last season?
Can we wait for Rachel to be on to do her presser? That's next,
Sir.
if that's okay. Is that okay, Simone?
That is okay. Pierre, did you have another question?
No, I'm good. I can wait.
Okay, thank you.
We'll go Lucas and then we'll go Corbett. Lucas, go ahead.
Hey, I've got two questions for Lay. First, more X's and O's. So one of the areas that you've kind of really improved at in the last couple seasons is specifically in jumpers off the dribble, out of the pick and roll. You went from I think it was in the 40th percentile a couple seasons ago to 63rd in 2020 and the 95th last year while you were with the Lynx. I guess my question or the first part of the question is that something that you've kind of consciously worked on your game since you entered the league? And then two, even though the Lynx aren't, a huge pick and roll team, what do you think your abilities in that situation help bring out on the team?
Start with the second one. I think Cheryl's a smart coach. So you have a style, but you also play to your personnel. So like she said, when we narrowed it down to here's what we're good at, she recognized my ability to play in pick and roll and put me more in those situations. So I think it's kind of twofold. I bring that to the team and it really kind of helps. And you have Sylvia Fowles playing the pick and roll with. So again, personnel matters. You have to guard Sylvia on the roll. And then my ability to knock down the jumper makes it a really challenging duo to guard. So, and it helps our team a lot. And then two, I think I've always kind of tried to work on it. I've gone back and forth because the pull-up has always been my bread and butter since I played in college, but I played, different roles, different systems, different opportunities all across the league, where I think last year I did really work a lot in the off season. I actually was at the Warriors practice facility in Oakland where I live, and I used their shooting stuff constantly, was doing their little kind of shoot 360 drills and machines that they had going on. So there really was a level of, I think, dedication I could put into that. But it was also just coming home to myself. As you know, New York, really that style of play under Hopkins was to not shoot two. So that was, difficult for me to play in that style, it's what I do. It's what I'm really good at. And also getting to the rim. So I think it was just a kind of homecoming. Cheryl's do what you do. If that's your thing, do it. And so for me, it was also a just coming home of oh yeah, I literally have shot pull-ups my whole life and in college and all throughout the league. So it just was an easy come off and hit your jumper.
And then I've got a union question for you. So obviously, in the last couple of weeks, there's been lots of talk about salaries in the WNBA with Liz's comments. And then also we spoke during Angel's press conference when she mentioned that, Syl should have been making millions of dollars throughout her career, not, hundreds of thousands. Mm-hmm. I guess since you're actively involved in the union, it's kind of a loaded question, I guess, but what will it take to get those salaries?
Me about the salaries.
Yeah. What will it take to get those higher? Is it just something the players have to push harder for, or is there more that can be done? Kind of what's your opinions on that?
I'll pass that one to Cheryl. She loves to answer this one.
I do, but it costs me a lot of money when I do. I believe in it so much that I'm happy to contribute to whatever fund that the fines go to. So Lay, this is going to be you. You're going to have to answer this one.
I'm going to have to answer it. I mean, yeah, it is totally loaded. Are you alluding to the Becky Hammond making a lot of money and that everyone coming, right? I think there's one is, I don't want to cap on coaches' salaries because we're the next coaches, first and foremost. So there's that opportunity for growth, that it's actually really good for our game that Becky makes as much money as she does. And I think a lot of players really do agree with that sentiment. It's obviously, and right, two things can be true at once. It is also a hard pill to swallow or look in the mirror when you also see that Sylvia Fowles is making this, or these players who are really tremendous. And Becky, when she played, right, wasn't making what she was due. So I think there's just that level of investment that's going to keep coming. We're stuck in a CBA until whenever I agree to sign it. We got a few more years until we can opt out of it, and I'm really excited about the kind of new investment in the league that was made and the new kind of evaluation that we saw. So I'm hoping again that our CBA was the one that kind of helps, blow it open. But for now, we're kind of locked in, and it got a lot better, but it's not where, we want it to be.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
All right, we'll do last question to Corbett before we bring in Rachel. Corbett, go ahead.
Hi, Corbett Harrell, Lead Sports Media. Layshia, we saw you make a number of appearances after the season, both as Jackie had mentioned with the Cheryl Reeve show, but we also saw you at Wolves games. And I just wanted to ask, how do you feel the culture of the Lynx off the court may differ compared to other stops you've made around the league?
Ask me that again. How does the culture of
the off the court culture of the Lynx, how does that compare to other stops you've made around the league?
other teams I played for?
Mm-hmm.
I would say it's one of the best, if not the best. Indiana was really good too, and I've played for some other teams and moments that have had it really good. But I think it's the top-down approach that Minnesota offers, right? And it starts with Glenn Taylor and our new ownership. Glenn actually called me. I can tell you this, Cheryl. He called me I was working out, and I saw a Minnesota number pop up, and usually spam is from my area code, and it was friggin' Glenn Taylor just called me to say happy to hear you coming back. And I stopped my workout, and my wife was looking at me, and I'm like, it's Glenn. He's like, I was like, yeah, Glenn. And just to have someone take that time, right, to call you, to be that connected and that locked in with what this franchise is doing, that moment to me was the epitome of what this culture is, and how it starts at the top down, because that's how culture starts. It has to start with your leadership. And so it starts with him, and then with Cheryl, then with your captains on the team. And I think that really just shows, of all the places I played, I think that's the best, one of the best synergies across the board. And then what Cheryl does, just vetting the players we bring in is really important, because I played on teams that will, you need talent to win. So you kind of always you got to pick what you're going to take and give. And Cheryl does a really good job of kind of vetting and making sure who we're bringing in is going to balance, because it's a really sacred space, and it's really, I think, a safe space that you have to be. Culture is really fragile thing that you're constantly working on and nurturing and building, and assholes can crack it. People who are cancers can really crack your culture. And that's something that we do a really good job of here. That just, again, it makes your job easier, because you're not worried about trying to fight your teammate or do that, because everyone around is going to hold that person accountable.
All right, thank you, Lay. We will be right up next with Rachel.
Later, Cheryl. Thanks, y'all.
LA.
All right, everybody, have Rachel with us now. We'll start the same way with an opening statement from Coach, and then an opening statement from Rachel.
Hi, Rachel.
Hi, Caroline.
Rachel and I, this will be our third season of being together after her going through free agency while she was in Connecticut. And Rachel and I have spent a lot of time together. Rachel's had to endure very long conversations with Cheryl, and just sort of mapping out vision each year. And so I think everyone knows I've really come to count on Rachel. Rachel's very smart. Rachel's very driven, and just a player that, we always say, you want Rachel Banham on your team. I think every team in the league would say that because of what Rachel brings to the table, the complete package. And I want to find a way to bring out the very best of Rachel Banham. And so I don't know that we've seen that yet. Our first season was a bubble season. Last season, there were some challenges, and they're usually related to playing time. And so, we're looking for Rachel's best season yet as a pro in 2022. And those are what our conversation centered around. And I'm excited that Rachel's staying home.
Thanks, Cheryl. Do I have to go now? Hi, everybody. I just want to say I'm super excited to be back. I second everything that Cheryl said, that I'm really excited for the season because I'm just ready to step up as a basketball player, as a leader, and just do all those things that me and Cheryl have talked about for hours on end at our little breakfasts. So I'm just really excited. I'm really blessed to be able to wear this jersey. I love representing my home state. Playing for this franchise, it's absolutely the best franchise in our league, without a doubt. And playing for the best coaching staff. I may be a little biased, but I think it's honestly the truth. So I'm really lucky. I love putting on my Lynx jersey and representing this home state and playing for my family and friends, and obviously the best fans. So I'm ready to get going.
All right, we'll start with questions from Kent and then move to Pierre. Kent, go ahead.
Rachel, when you hear Coach say that she wants this to be your best season ever in the league, what does that mean to you, and what does that look like in your mind in terms of maybe how things will be different or better than they have been in the past?
I would say just consistency, being my best self every single night. Like, there's obviously gonna be days where I'm not always gonna be the best, but still being able to bring it in some way, even if maybe I'm not shooting great. Being a really great leader throughout, being tough, especially playing the point guard position. That is like top of the list. Something you have to be able to do is be tough and bring it even if you're not your best self. So I think just being consistent with that and doing that each and every day, I think that'll be the biggest difference.
We'll go Pierre and then Jace. Pierre, go ahead.
Rachel, what was it like for you to come to the decision to come back? Were you entertaining offers elsewhere? What ultimately led to you returning to Minnesota?
I mean, at the end of the day, I wanted to be back here. I knew that in my heart. I was entertaining, I guess, another offer, but I told Cheryl, like, I was committed to being in Minnesota and this is where I wanted to be. And yeah, I feel like I have a little bit of a chip on my shoulder. I still feel like I have stuff to prove. I have stuff to show people, and I want to do this on this team and be a part of this team and win games. And, you know, we want to win a championship, especially for Sylvia. All for our girl Sil.
We'll go
Rachel,
oh,
what do you think? What do you think is the biggest thing you've learned about yourself as a player in these first 2 years here in Minnesota?
What's the biggest thing I've learned? Is that what you asked?
Yeah, about yourself as a player in these first 2 seasons here.
I feel like when I was my first 4 seasons were tough. I feel like that was just a big learning curve, and I feel like I lost a lot of confidence. I feel like in these last 2 years, I've started to like find myself more as a basketball player in this league and kind of like what I can do and who I am. It shouldn't have taken me that long, but I think coming to this team, Cheryl helped me with that a lot, and I kind of found myself a little bit. That I can be the player that I know I can be, and the player that I kind of was in college, maybe not the same, but be able to bring that same kind of mentality. So I feel like I kind of have been able to found that in myself, but I could still take another step forward in that.
Okay, we'll go Chris and then Jack. Chris, go ahead.
Rachel, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Congratulations again on the engagement.
Thank you.
A lot of players have a challenge when they play at home. You chose to do it with the Gophers. You're not choosing to do it again here with the Lynx. What are some of those challenges and how do you handle it? Because that spotlight is brighter on you and your role in this team than maybe it would with any other team.
Yeah. I guess there is some pressure because you always want to perform well in front of your people. Man, I think just preparation helps me. Like I think if you're always prepared, you're a little bit less nervous, a little less anxious. You're always going to have a little bit. I'm always going to be a little nervous, and I think that's kind of a good thing. I don't want to come into it too relaxed, but I just think preparation. I've tried to always prepare myself to be my best in that night, and I think that everyone's still going to be proud of me because I'm going to be able to give that effort and show that I put the work in. So I try to always kind of remember that if I'm getting a little too nervous or stressed, because it can be kind of tough because I want to make everybody really proud, because I just love everybody here, and I know that everyone has high expectations for me like I do for myself. So just continuing to prepare myself. I mean, that's what matters. So
Thanks. Glad you're back.
thanks, Chris.
Okay, we'll go Jack and then Jack and then Corbett. Jack, go ahead.
Hey, Rachel, good to see you. Welcome back. With last season with different players in and out of the lineup with injuries, kind of building off your last point, what do you think you learned about your preparation, just in that, different players are going to be on the floor and you'll see a bunch of different lineup combinations, and how do you think that helped you, learn a lot of your teammates that you're going to be back on the floor with this season?
Yeah, I think it's always good that in practice we kind of do different lineups. We play with different people, so that kind of helps to be able to know like how to adjust in different situations. And I think last year I played a little bit of the 1 and the 2, so that helped in situations when I maybe had to play a different position and step into those roles. And I think it always comes down to preparation, watching the scout, paying attention on reading the scouting report, all that stuff, so that when you come in, you might end up guarding somebody that you weren't necessarily supposed to in the beginning of the game, or maybe I wasn't going to play a lot, and then somebody goes down and all of a sudden I'm guarding Courtney Vandersloot. You know what I mean? So just knowing like their tendencies and just be ready for that stuff. Once again, preparation.
And now hopefully that you will have, a fully healthy team with Layshia and AP back. What's the confidence level in just this group's collective ability, and where do you think you guys will be able to take the biggest step forward on the floor?
I mean, I think just like what you said, like having them back. I mean, last year, I think we talked about it a lot. I don't even know. I'm sure Cheryl knows like the number of days that we actually had like the entire squad together. I don't even know if we actually had the entire team ever.
We didn't. Yeah.
So like, just right there. I mean, we haven't even had our whole squad together. So that will just look different in its own. If everyone could stay healthy and get everyone on the court, like we're really talented and we have a fun group and we're just really different. I think we all bring different stuff to the table. And if you can all see that at one time, that'd be really special. And I think that if we can have that and everyone's healthy, I think people are going to be surprised what we can do.
Awesome. Thank you, Rachel.
You're welcome.
Okay, we'll go Corbett and then Jackie. Corbett, go ahead.
Hi, Rachel. Now you're coming back. You say you wanted to kind of bring a bit more. Do you feel like one of your responsibilities in your role with this team is to help change the energy when you enter the game?
Yeah. I mean, I think that I can be an energy kid. I'm not like AP and gonna be like pounding my chest probably, but I'm kind of like the one that we all know this, that it kind of keeps it fun. I try to just keep people happy, when things aren't always going their best, make sure that like we're sticking together, having a good time and bouncing back through adversity. So I feel like that's kind of my role. It's like a different type of energy person, but I like to just try to make sure that we're still as a unit, even when things aren't looking good, or even when Cheryl's mad or the coaching staff is getting on us, making sure that like, okay, let's get it together. We're going to be good. Maybe crack a quick joke right quick and let's go back in the game. Let's get it done. So that's kind of like my energy.
Thank you. And Cheryl, everyone's kind of aware you're kind of running up against the numbers now. You have to have some hard decisions coming in the next few days. How are you approaching any of that?
Certainly not the next few days in terms of winning a USA basketball game. Yeah. Those are the numbers that are in my head right now, is how we're going to beat Belgium. But I think what you're referring to is completing the off season and getting a final roster, which will happen in May. So we do have some time. The off season is still ongoing, as it is for all teams. And I can assure you, I have half the league here, half the GM, almost half the GMs here at USA Basketball. So we've had a number of conversations about the challenges that we all face. There's a lot of players that you kind of, you would sure like to be able to have on your team that you might not be able to because of cap restrictions. And so we all have had very difficult decisions to make, but ultimately you choose your direction. And you do the best you can with the information that you have, and you choose a direction. And so our team is no different than the other teams, most of the other teams in the league that are going to be faced with some challenges in terms of, maybe a player that's been pretty good, may not be able to make the team. And that's just reality. And, we don't look forward to that, but that is reality.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, we'll go to Jackie, and then there's a question from the chat that I'll read. Jackie, go ahead.
So I've got the same question for both of you, but first, Rachel, congratulations on coming back to Minnesota. So Cheryl just said that, you guys have talked about this vision for you. And so from Rachel, from you, if you could just explain exactly maybe what that is and maybe what you think your best season as a pro looks like, and sort of same type of question for Cheryl as well.
Yeah, I think a lot that we talked about and I kind of mentioned earlier was the consistency piece.
Mm-hmm.
Stepping into that point guard role, there's a different presence that you need to have when you're playing the point guard.
Mm-hmm.
And I've known this from like the past, but like really accepting that and bringing that every single day, it's just different. Like you have a different type of leadership and different type of toughness, like I said earlier. And that's kind of a big thing that we've talked about, and like bringing that each and every day. And I sound like a broken record, but that's kind of like what our main conversation was like. And for me, what that looks like, and we've talked about this a lot too, Cheryl, is being consistent, being in the best shape, being the best athlete I could possibly be, and just being prepared. And that's something that I've been working super, super hard on. And I feel great. I'm really excited. I'm definitely putting all the work in. I've taken everything that Cheryl says. I take that challenge. So I'm ready for it.
And I think for me, the word consistency that Rachel is using, I think some of the consistencies come from a lack of consistencies come from coaches. We're making decisions about playing time, and Rachel and I talked a lot about the bubble. Rachel actually had a very good season in the bubble. And when did it happen and how did it happen? I've studied these things quite a bit, about how do we have each player that we want to live in their most positive space. In Rachel's case, if you look at the bubble, once we kind of got our wits about us in terms of what we were going to look like, and you start a certain way because that was your vision in the off season, and then the season hits and it might take you in a different direction. And I think for Rachel was a beneficiary of that, and we put Rachel in a consistent role with consistent minutes. And I think any player that gets to have that, you're going to see the best of them. I don't know that Rachel's always had that. That's not to make excuses for Rachel. Rachel knows that. It's more of, Rachel's always made the best of a situation, and Rachel never complains. But we want the best player that Rachel can be, because our job is to win games. This isn't about because Rachel's such a good egg and she's fun to be around. We actually think that Rachel's a really good player. She gives you the dimension of being able to shoot the three, which everybody knows. Rachel steps onto the court, and there's an immediate change of what a defense is going to do and what they're going to be aware of. And so Rachel knows that. And then Rachel is somebody that we've counted on to be a good passer. Again, things that we saw in the bubble in pick and roll game. And so if I can put her in those situations more consistently, I'm a believer that you're going to get, Rachel's had, kind of an every other year type of productivity. And we're really pushing hard for finding those, and by the way, that this is the every other year, this is the good year coming. So we're betting on that, right? And then after that, after this season is the one that we're looking for. Then our mission is to follow it up. It'll be the first time in her career that we had back-to-back really good seasons. And so that's what the vision is for us.
I appreciate that. Thank you both.
You're welcome.
All right, we'll have our last question from Lucas, the question from the chat. So Lucas, go ahead.
Rachel, kind of want to switch things up a little bit. So when you were at the U, obviously you tied the NCAA record, most points in a single game, and then Aoka Lee broke that a couple weeks ago. Both successful, highly successful Minnesota women's basketball players. What does having, and then you have, Paige Beckers and all those players as well, but to have such success of such high quality players at such a high level, what does that do for women's and girls basketball in the state of Minnesota?
I think it's awesome. I feel like when people think of Minnesota, like, what's in Minnesota? I feel like we're kind of just like, it snows a lot there. But I'm like, we got some good basketball players. I mean, obviously the Lynx, like we know this, but let's look past that. I just think it's good. I mean, I think like the girls game has grown a lot. And I feel like now that we have more light on the WNBA, I think girls are watching more of that and they are aspiring for that more. And then obviously like Paige is amazing. And then Aoka Lee breaks the record, and then she's from Minnesota too. So it's kind of cool. Just keep shining a light. Like we don't just play in the snow over here. Like we're actually good at basketball. So I just think it's good. It's good for the game. Continues to grow. Hopefully, like we continue to get more and more of an audience and see like we're pretty cool as women's and girls basketball, but specifically in Minnesota.
Thank you.
All right, that will wrap up our media availabilities today. Thank you so much, Rachel.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you, Coach. And thank you, everybody. I will send out the recording following this.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye, everybody. Bye, Cheryl.
Bye.